welcome to piano lesson number 2 with Richard Kitchenmaster from educationsfinest.com, okay? And in this piano lesson, we're just going to learn strictly about what's called a major scale. Now, major scales are extremely important as long as you play the piano or you have any kind of piano career. You will be doing major scales. You will be doing all sorts of scales. Scales are essential, okay? I have a friend who's been playing piano for something like 15 years, and he went to some prestigious university, and he told me the very first thing that his professor, which is like some famous pianist, asked him to do was play scales, okay? That's how important scales are, okay? So today we're going to discuss what a major scale is, how it's formed. We're going to talk about specifically the C major scale, because I'm going to make an entire series about scales. But in this case, we're just going to focus on C, and at the very end, I'm going to show you guys how I practice, and we'll end it there. Okay, so C major scale. What we got to first talk about is what's called a half step and a whole step, okay? A half step is basically, if you're pushing a note, in this case C, a half step is the very, very, very next note. Okay? So you're going to move from this one right up to there. That is what's called a half step. Okay? A whole step would be, if you're hitting C, you're going to be skipping the next one and going to the one after that. So that is a whole step. This is a half step. So now, the only tricky one is, for instance, there's only a couple tricky ones. Let's say you start on E, okay? What is a half step from there? Now remember, it's just the very next note. So there's no black note in between, so it's this one. This is a half step, okay? A whole step would be skipping the next one and going to the very next. So from E, this would be a whole step, okay? So a half step from G would be this. A whole step from G, you're going to skip this note and you're going to hit the next, okay? Now B, what do you think the next half step is? C, okay? A whole step would be skipping C and going to C sharp, okay? Okay, so those are half steps and whole steps, okay? Now, a little bit about sharps and flats, since I just had mentioned a sharp. A sharp means you go up a half step, just one, and flat means you go down a half step. So for instance, if we're hitting D here, D sharp, you're going to go up a half step. This would be D sharp, okay? D flat, you're going to go back a half step. So that would be D flat. So for instance, let's say we're hitting A. A sharp, okay, A flat, oops, sorry, A flat is going to be here, okay? So hopefully the concepts of sharps and flats, whole steps and half steps are making sense. The reason I have to explain that before I explain a major scale is because a major scale consists of whole steps and half steps, okay? And I'm going to pop that up on the screen. But a major scale consists of a whole step, another whole step, a half step, a whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, okay? So remember that pattern. It's always whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So for the C major scale, a whole step from, you're going to start on C. That's what's called our root note, okay? So you start on a root note, which is just the name of the scale. So for instance, if you're playing an E major, then you would start on E and you would do the pattern from there. So C, a whole step from C to D, that's a whole step. Then a whole step from D is E, so it was whole step, half step. E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. And B to C is a half step. So in case you didn't notice, the C major scale consists of only white notes. Okay? Just white notes. Okay? And that's why we start with the C major scale. Okay? So again, the pattern goes whole step, half step. Whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now, knowing that pattern, you can form any scale you want, okay? And I'll give you an example of that right now, but this video is going to be focused mostly on just the C major scale, okay? But for instance, let's say you started on E, okay? Well, you know that has to be a whole step, so a whole step from E is F sharp, okay? Because you're going to skip this one and go here. That's a whole step. A whole step from F sharp is G sharp, okay? Then it goes half step, which should be A, then whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, so kind of in an awkward position just because the camera's like right next to me, but I think this gives the best view. So if my hand looks kind of like, you know, deformed or something. So again, so C major, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. You know that pattern, you can form any major scale on the piano, okay? So how do you actually play this scale? Well, let's start with the right hand, okay? What you do is you're going to place your thumb on C, okay? It can really be any C, but in this case we're going to do middle C, okay? C. And you're going to play the very first three notes, okay? C, D, E. And then after E, you're going to bring your thumb under and go to F, okay? And then when you do that, you just bring your hand back on the piano like that. So when you go back down, you just play all five fingers, C, B, A, G, F, and then you go over with your third finger. Your third is your middle finger. And then you play D, C, okay? And I'm going to give you a much better view after this. Your left hand, okay, it's exactly reversed of your right hand. So you're going to start with your pinky on C, and then go to D, E, F, G, and then once you get there, you're going to go over with your third finger, your middle finger, and then play, and then when you get to C, you go back and reverse. Once you get to your middle finger, you're going to go under with your thumb. You can see it much better in your left hand. You're going to go under with your thumb, bring your hand over, and finish it. Okay? Okay, now let me bring the camera down for a second. So hopefully I can try to give you a better view. Alright, so let's start with our right hand, okay? So, let's see, can you see that? Perfect. Okay, so with your right hand, okay, this is C major again. You're going to play C with your thumb, then you're going to play D, then you're going to play E. After you play E, you're going to go under with your thumb, and then you're going to bring the rest of your hand over. And then you go back down, all of your fingers. Then when you get to your thumb, you're going to bring your third finger over. Okay. That is the C major scale for your right hand. Now let's go to your left hand. Let's see, let me place this camera just right. Alright, so your left hand, you're going to start with your pinky. And you're going to use all five fingers, and then you're going to go over with your third. Okay, so one more time. And then once you get to there, you're going to go back. And then once you get to your third finger, you're going to go under with your thumb, go over, and you're going to finish off your scale. So that is the C major scale. Now again, This scale is extremely important, okay, at top view of your left hand. Okay, top view of your right hand. Okay, that is the C major scale. Now, how you want to practice that is you want to practice it very slowly and very evenly at first. I cannot stress that enough. Play it with a metronome. You see this guy? It's a metronome. Let me introduce you to my other metronome here. Okay, so this is a wooden metronome. It's made of real wood. Let me show you how it works. And it just clicks for you. Okay, click, 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 click. Okay, and I want you to eventually play with a metronome, but right now, actually, yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slow this guy down, something like this. Click, click. Okay, and that is gonna be at the speed that you're gonna be playing your scale at first. Okay, so on your metronome, you can just, if you have something like this, you can use your keyboard. But make that number 60, okay? Right now we're at 72, but start very slowly. And what you're going to do is every single time that you hear that click, I know it's going to be annoying in this video, but every time you hear that click, play a key. So it becomes very even. Click, 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 okay? You see? You get the idea? And the same thing with your left hand. Okay, and then as you progress at your scales as a pianist, you can slowly speed up and speed it up and speed it up, okay? Now, that is how you practice. So what you're going to do is you're going to practice one hand at a time, okay? Master one hand at a time. After you master one hand, then you can do two hands. And I gotta put you back on the little camera stand because it's kind of hard to play the piano when when your hands are taken up, or at least play it two-handed. All right, so make sure the camera's good. Okay, so you're gonna practice it very slowly at first. I don't care how slow you have to go, but the reason it's tricky, so I'm just gonna finish it. The reason it's tricky is because when you're playing it on your right hand here has to go under with the thumb, has to go under, and then here your left hand has to go over, okay? And that's where the hand coordination comes in, because here you got to go under, and then here you got to go over. Okay, so again. And that's what's called a one octave C scale. So one octave because it goes from C to C. C to C is one octave. Okay? Now, a little advanced tip. Once you get very good at... Hopefully you can see this. Once you get very good at one octave, you can continue to go up 2 octaves, 3 octaves, and 4 octaves, okay? So let me show you 2 octaves. So it's the same exact thing, but when you get to here, when you get to B here, instead of going to your pinky to end the scale, you're just going to go under with your thumb, and then continue the pattern. Over, and then when you get to here, you're going to go over with your 4th finger, finish the scale, okay? Okay, now let's try in the left hand. Okay, so you just start the very first octave the same way, but when you get to here, you're going to go over with your 4th finger, and then over with your 3rd. When you come here, you're going to go under with your thumb here, And then when you get to here on D, you're going to go under with your thumb, and then continue it, go under with your thumb again, and finish it, okay? So now, again, practice it very, very slowly. Now, once you get good at 2 octaves, you can go 3 and 4 octaves, and it's exactly the same. You know, for example, 3 octaves. I don't even know if you can, yeah, going a little bit off, but you just continue the pattern all the way, okay? So, now I'm going to show you guys how I practice, and it's exactly how I would like you guys to practice as well. Okay, so that was your major scales, okay? Don't forget, the pattern is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step for all major scales, okay? With the C major scale, it's very important to practice it how I showed you. Practice one hand at a time, you know, the right hand, then the left hand, then combine them. Do not move on to 2 octave scales until you master the very first octave, okay? It will take time, okay? Practice this for a good 20-30 minutes every single day for a good at least a week, maybe even 2 weeks. Really get it down, because what it's going to do is it's really going to increase speed, increase strength, increase duration that you can play, cleanliness, and it's going to help you individualize your fingers, okay? So it's very, very, very important to practice these scales. Scales, as I said, you're going to be playing them basically until you die, okay? You'll be playing them forever. I've been playing them for years. I've been playing piano now for about 10 years, and I play them every single morning. It's the first thing I do is I warm up with scales. Before I do a concert, I warm up with scales, okay? So it's very, very important that you understand that you want to practice very evenly, very cleanly, and slowly speed it up, okay? Start slow, because if you can't play it, you know, if you can't play it slow, you can't play it fast, okay? So I'll see you guys in the next video. Practice.